Hello and welcome to Crooked House Gaming. Here at Crooked House Gaming, we like to explore the gameplay of simulation games, usually through a series of Let's Plays. In this episode, we will continue to explore the gameplay of Democracy 4. Democracy 4 is a political sim that lets you choose the role of a world leader and govern a country. If this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any future episodes. In our last episode, we were re-elected to a second term as Chancellor of Germany. When I hit that button, we will be entering our first term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany. Factory farming law. There is an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. A campaign for tightening of animal welfare standards on farms is gaining momentum. A law has been proposed that would set higher minimum standards for space, food, access to outdoors that is available to animals in intensive farming establishments. Set tougher standards. It's about time we did something to ensure animals are not suffering in intensive farming. Most people would be horrified if they saw the conditions some animals are kept in. These standards would lead to more expensive food, but people would be happy to pay more if they knew the conditions in which animals are currently kept. Leave unchanged. Nobody forces people to buy processed meat from the cheapest source. There are organic and free-range foods, but the free market shows clearly that people aren't prepared to pay more for a change in animal welfare. This is government interfering in the market to appease a few campaigners. We are leaving it unchanged. The government will not be interfering in the market. The farmers are happy at plus 8%. The capitalists are happy at plus 1%. The environmentalists are unhappy at negative 4%. The liberals are unhappy at negative 2%. A message from the minister. One of your cabinet ministers need to talk to you urgently in private. And I can't even pronounce her name and I apologize. Antje Friedrich. Minister Friedrich, currently working as your welfare minister, is tired of serving in your government and may wish to leave their position and possible politics altogether. You may be able to persuade them to stay by taking steps to further please their core supporters, ethnic minorities, and liberals. Budget report. The government is currently running a budget deficit of 22.96 billion euro. We should take steps to reduce this. Election report. Our party, the New Right, is getting more popular. In the last quarter, we added 267,357 new members and 44,559 new activists. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be fair. Economic forecast. The global economy is doing okay and we are neither in a boom nor bust cycle. Polls report. People are indifferent to your government. We estimate getting 53% of the vote in an election. We have 14 political capital to spend. Let's take a look at that minister who's unhappy. We've had ministers who are more unhappy and we never got a notice like that. Let us fire our welfare minister. We're gonna hire Herwig Wagner. He's with socialists and parents. He has a 43% suitability for welfare. We are hiring Herwig Wagner. We have 13 political capital to spend. Petrol tax. Taxing fuel can be a huge source of income for the government. Can also be seen as a green policy by encouraging people to drive less or to use more fuel efficient cars. Critics suggest that this is just another cynical tax on the motorists, and some complain that the alternative public transport is not a viable option for everyone. This will affect the GDP. We are trying to raise money for our government. Presently, petrol tax is at 30%. We will spend 11 political capital to increase this to 38%. The income raised by the petrol tax will be 1.57 billion euro. We will apply the changes. We have 2 political capital to spend. Work safety law. Work safety law, often known as health and safety, is a series of measures to ensure employees are not at the risk of injury in their day-to-day activities. Trade unionists often hail such laws as a valuable defense against unscrupulous employers who may put lives at risk. Many business leaders are concerned at the high levels of bureaucracy and restrictive practices that can result from such laws, which they see as a burden on business. This is 73% popular with the vote. We're going to spend 1 political capital to lower this. This will help with our corporate exodus. We will apply the changes. We have 1 political capital to spend. City farms. Many people would love to buy fresh produce from farmers directly, but living in a city, this is often a hassle to drive out to the countryside, so why not bring some farmers to the cities directly? This program helps ambitious farmers to establish farms in and around cities. They can be close to their customers and will get some of the city kids to consider a career in farming. This is 100% popular with the vote. This will help lower our food price. We will spend 1 political capital. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our first term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering the second term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany. Let's see how we did. Poverty is up. GM food proposal. There is an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. A number of large agricultural companies are interested in growing genetically modified food on our soil. Some food can be genetically manipulated to allow longer shelf life, both disease and herbicide resistance. Opponents are concerned about the potential risks associated with altering the food chain. Farmers are divided on the issue. Allow GM crops. GM crops have huge potential benefits. Not only do they increase shelf life and thus reduce costs for the sellers, but they also reduce the need for pesticides, thus meaning less harmful chemical in use during their production. It's also possible for foods to be created with other benefits such as improved vitamin content. Ban the sale of GM food. There is no need for GM food. The benefits are great for the producers, not for the consumers. We simply do not know enough about long-term effects of genetically modifying the food chain. Scientific research is all well and good, but once released into the environment, these organisms cannot be recalled. We should act now to protect the food chain from GM. We are going to ban the sale of GM food. The environmentalists are happy at plus 13%. The GDP is unhappy at negative 3%. The capitalists are unhappy at negative 3%. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation. Prison overcrowding on our hands if we do not act soon. A budget report. There's a budget deficit of 24.94 billion euro. We need to reduce spending or raise taxes. Polls are optimistic. If an election was held tomorrow, we suspect we would get 81% of the vote. Our party, the New Right, is getting more popular. Last quarter, we added 621,786 new members and 177,653 new activists. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be fair. Economic forecast. The global economy is in a recession and this is having a negative effect on our GDP. We have 18 political capital to spend. More and more commerce is being handled in cryptocurrencies to cover the cost of tax evasion and tie the new currency to the fiscal system. Rules and taxation are required. An internet currency tax reduces the income of everyone trading in cryptocurrencies, mostly self-employed and small companies. The capitalists, the liberal, the self-employed, and cryptocurrency adoption will go down. This is only 4% popular with the vote, but the potential income is a maximum of 3.41 billion euro. We are implementing this. Cryptocurrency taxation is at 38%. We will raise this to 45%. The income generated from cryptocurrency taxation will be 2.6 billion euro. Let us apply the changes. We have zero political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our second term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering the third term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany. Let's see how we did. The GDP is down. Unemployment is up. Undermined. One of our key extraction industries is being undercut by a foreign competitor, crashing the commodity price. A large competitor's capital reserves can't absorb the loss they must be making by subsidizing the production. Our GDP is down at negative 8%. Budget report. There's a budget deficit of 24.5 billion euro. We need to reduce spending or raise taxes. Polls report. The polls are optimistic. If an election was held tomorrow, we suspect we would get 74% of the vote. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as loyal. The effectiveness is generally considered to be fair. Economic forecast. The global economy is in a recession and this is having a negative effect on our GDP. We have 17 political capital to spend. Rural development grants. As technology advances and more citizens take jobs in our city, there's a danger that poverty and unemployment will rise to an unacceptable level in the countryside. Rural development grants do distort the free market, but they also support rural businesses and prevent poverty among farmers and other rural occupations. This is 90% popular with the vote. This will increase our GDP, which just took a big hit with the commodities problem. This will lower unemployment. We will implement this policy. We will apply the changes. We have 4 political capital to spend. Retirement age. Where state pensions exist, this policy sets the minimum age at which workers can retire and receive pension from the state. This is also used as a general benchmark by private businesses when setting their own retirement ages. An early retirement may be desirable for workers, but it impacts the economy and will reduce productivity. This is 84% popular with the vote. We will spend 4 political capital to increase the retirement age to 67. This will reduce the amount that we pay out in state pension. This will increase our productivity. The retired and the trade trade unionists will not be happy with this. We will be applying the changes. We have zero political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our third term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering the fourth term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany. Let's see how we did. The GDP is up, unemployment is down, surgical strikes. There is an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. Terrorists in the Middle East have started to attack vital pipelines owned by our companies, which indirectly provide us with fuel. In order to protect our oil supply, the army would like to start surgical strikes on carefully selected targets. Order surgical strikes. Terrorism is a real threat, and the rising oil prices limit growth. We have the means to disrupt the terrorist operations without risking the lives of our soldiers. We have to strike now and prevent those terrorists from getting the upper hand. Do not engage. Troubles in that area have economical and social reasons that cannot be solved by bombing terrorist leaders. A ground war and subsequent rebuilding are a more costly but far more effective way to solve the problem of this region. We will be ordering surgical strikes. The Patriots are happy at plus 18%, and the Liberals are unhappy at negative 4%. We are seen as a strong leader at plus 10%. Budget report. There is a budget deficit of 32.15 billion euro. We need to reduce spending or raise taxes. Election report. Our party, the New Right, is getting more support. The last quarter, 544,837 new people signed up to be members. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be fair. Economic forecast. The global economy is doing okay. We are neither in a boom nor a bust cycle. Polls report. People are indifferent to your government. We estimate getting 69% of the vote in an election. We have 16 political capital to spend. Enterprise investment scheme. Enterprise investment scheme is a system which gives tax breaks to the wealthy individuals who invest their money in small startup companies which are based in this country. This scheme encourages investment in companies which should eventually grow and stimulate the economy, whilst at the same time giving a popular tax break to people who invest in them. Obviously, indirectly, the scheme is being subsidized by those without savings to invest. This is 96% popular with the vote. This will increase our GDP. We will implement this policy. We will raise this a little bit. We will apply the changes. We have 9 political capital to spend. Police force. Every government needs to employ a police force to ensure order is kept and laws are obeyed, but it's a matter of debate exactly how much should be spent on the police. Some favor a large force with police on every street corner. Others prefer a more low-key and tolerant approach. This is 100% popular with the vote. We are dealing with antisocial behavior, corruption, violent crime, and crime in general, as well as alcohol abuse. This will lower unemployment. We will invest 4 political capital to raise this to maximum. We will apply the changes. We have 5 political capital to spend. Corporation tax, a direct and proportionate tax on the profits of business. Some argue that this should be the only form of taxation. Others that such taxes stifle entrepreneurship and discourage people from starting a business. It is often one of the main ways the government brings in money. We will be spending 3 political capital to lower this from 18% to 13%. We will apply the changes. We have 2 political capital to spend. Labor Day bank holiday. This makes Labor Day an official banking holiday, thus reminding citizens that it is not all about money in our life. While this will certainly help to increase the happiness of working class and everybody who wants to have a good time, it will have significant negative impact on the economy because a day wasted is money lost. This is 100% popular with the vote. We will be spending 2 political capital to lower this. This will improve our GDP slightly. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our 4th term of our first year of our second term as Chancellor of Germany, and thus we are at the end of this episode. Thank you so much for stopping by our Crooked House. If you like what you saw, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. If you want to follow our future episodes, it really helps us out. Have a great week. See you soon.